Hi, everyone. It's so good to be here. I still can't believe you're all humans. I've not been around this many people, I think, in over a year and 3 months, even though I live in Texas and we were pretty much reopened the whole time. I only wore a mask for 3 weeks, so I can't really complain. So who am I? And you do hear a little accent, so I'm Moroccan-American with a French touch. That's how I like to describe myself. I've lived all over the world. I blame my parents. I'm currently the Chief Digital Officer at AVX Digital. Prior to that, I was the General Manager in Silicon Valley of a startup where we raised $200 million from Alibaba. I've worked for Microsoft, Hilton. I've done startups, unemployment, exits. I've done it all. Oh yeah, and I co-wrote the first book on voice search 2 years ago. It's called Voice Search, the New Search Engine, with Courtney Cox, not the actress. She's the head of Children's Hospital's marketing team in Dallas. And if you guys are interested, I'll be more than happy to send you some copies of it, because voice search is still growing and happening, whether we like it or not. So today's topic is not voice search, it's how to make a marketing strategy. The first step is really knowing your customer. I think as marketers, we're so distracted with performance that sometimes we're so worried about showing an ROI that we really don't spend enough time understanding who are the customers and why. Are we even marketing to whoever we're marketing to? What are we trying to solve? What problems we're trying to solve? What content are we trying to put in front of these people? So the first step really in designing a marketing strategy for me is knowing your customers. And I think the Professor Michael, and I read your book in college, and the quizzes were super hard, so I don't know if you're still here in the room, but thanks. I think he touched on a lot of really good things this morning. It's not just about labeling people based on gender and demographics and behavior. It's literally spending time and energy understanding, for example, who is Amine? Like, who is this guy? What does he like? So if he likes soccer, does that mean he likes to watch the US League, or does it mean he likes to watch soccer in Spain? So just labeling people and only putting them in one category is not enough anymore. And remember, guys, COVID did us the biggest favor in the world by it literally sped up the digital transformation. Like what we were gonna see 20 years ahead, it's happening today. Like there are people that have never shopped online who had to shop online for the first time in their life. People that the idea of buying groceries online was not even a thing. And now they're used to only using Instacart because they never want to set a foot in Whole Foods or Walmart or wherever you go shopping. So even your customers a year ago are not your customers today and are not your customers 2 years ago. Spend a lot of time understanding who they are, because that's the first step into designing a great marketing strategy. The second thing is finding their trigger. For example, when do auto parts companies succeed the most? When the economy is poor, when your car is broken, when you've earned a bonus and you have something wrong with your car, when you have a stable income, when you're entering a new job. And one of the answers could be when the economy is poor. Even though during COVID, and I think because of all the help that a lot of people got, PPP, stimulus packages and all that, car sales actually did really well. In fact, car dealers have inventory issues. Even used cars are having inventory issues. But forget about COVID, but usually auto parts companies always do well when people have no option but fixing their cars because they cannot afford buying another car. So what triggers me to go fix my car is, again, the fact that I need a functioning car to go from A to Z, and two is I cannot afford anything else. That's the only alternative I have. And remember, every consumer has some kind of trigger. What triggered you to be here today? What triggered you guys to choose MGM? So there's always something that triggers a decision. Make sure you understand what triggers people to convert. The third thing is understanding the competition. This is actually, the left side is a research that we did for a client of ours. They wanted to compete against Smile Direct Club and Invisalign. So we have this meeting in Dallas. The guys, they're backed by a PE firm, so I was getting super excited. I'm like, yeah, millions of dollars. Then I was like, what's your digital marketing budget? They were like 30 grand. And we want to do Google AdWords and Facebook and the TikTok thing and all these crazy things. So all I did while we were in the middle of the meeting is literally trying to pull data showing what the other guys in the space are spending. We're talking about $1 million just in AdWords alone. And in fact, that was like, I think that slide is from probably 2 years ago. So as you can imagine, Smile Direct Club are everywhere now. Everywhere you go, you see them even in malls. So they have even pop-up stuff. So they have raised even more money, and they're spending a lot more money. So what do you do here? What do you tell a client? And whoever said, like, you are the one who tells them that their baby is ugly, well, I had to tell them that they were broke, so that was no fun. So I was like, get out of this industry. You won't compete. So do you outspend them? Do you think smart? Do you go after long-tail keywords? What do you do here? And those are really conversations you need to have internally with your team and involve everybody from the email marketing guys to the SEO guys. It could be that you need to be the Wikipedia for Invisalign, and that could be your game. You become the new WebMD for it. Like whatever the solution is, we did know that we should not be in Google AdWords no matter what because we were going to get killed. So we had to come up with strategies and help this client. So again, understand who your competitors are, understand what the competition is doing great, what they're not doing great, and do your best to outsmart them. Know what you want to say, then figure out where to say it. So let's see if this plays. All right, so who's TipTop? If there are any Canadians here, you probably know who TipTop is. They're one of the largest men's brand in Canada. They're actually backed by Blackstone, and that's one of our clients. And they came to us during prom season, and they were like, hey, we want to push for suits, and it's prom season. What should we do? And that was, again, I think 2 years ago as well, or a year ago, and we told, 2 years ago, pre-COVID. And we told them, well, there's this thing called TikTok. Like, what's that? I'm like, well, it's kind of now the most downloadable app on the App Store, and it's creating all this. And again, we genuinely, because we knew who their customers were. They're there. They're not on Facebook. They're not on Instagram. They're on TikTok. So this 18-second simple video gave us the highest record sales month in the history of the brand. We also won a Glossy Fashion Award, which is this kind of fancy fashion marketing award in New York, against Saks Fifth Avenue and David's Bridal for a fraction of the budget. Fraction of what those guys spent trying to get customers to engage with their videos. So what we did here is we followed the 3 steps. We knew who their customers were. We understand the competition. We know what triggers people. But what we did as well is that we took a step further where we ran 2 campaigns at the same time, one targeting the teens on TikTok, but the second one using connected TV, targeting the parents. Because we know we have the IP addresses. As you guys know, we're marketers. We know everything about everyone, but we can't tell the secret. So in reality, connected TV is as well one of the most beautiful inventions that us marketers have access to, because it allows us to target people based on behavior, based on what type of shows they watch. So we know that in that household, mom likes to watch X and dad likes to watch Y. So what we did is we targeted also the parents of literally every person we targeted in this campaign. And that's what also drove the results, because their customers was not just the 16, 17-year-olds going to prom and getting that were super excited, but it's also the parents that most of the time were having to pay for those suits. And the messaging was completely different. For the kids or the teens, it's cool, you're gonna look awesome, tonight is the night. And for the parents, it's like, I'm saving you money. So that's what we did, and it did fantastic for this brand. Oh, this slide, I love it. 5, don't ignore the full journey. This is literally a real website. So imagine wanting to go on a cruise, and let's say these guys are killing it marketing-wise. They're super good at targeting people based on behavior. They understand the triggers, and now we were tired, sitting, I mean, not my case, but a lot of you guys probably were, again, if you live in LA and New York, you were kind of, couldn't do much. But time to go on a cruise. So imagine you targeted me, I'm the customer, and I land right here. This is giving me a headache, just looking at it. I don't even know where to start. So just remember, guys, doesn't matter how good you are at marketing, what matters is user experience. Doesn't matter how good you are at targeting, doesn't matter how good you are at driving the right traffic. Doesn't matter if you're good on Google, Facebook, TikTok, name it. If you drive people to something like this, I promise you your conversion rate is gonna be horrible, and you should probably be fired from your job. And the reason why I always like to say don't ignore the full journey is you need to map out the full customer journey from point A to literally the finish line. Where did we first start talking? Is it social media? Is it Instagram? Is it like even specific to the channel? Is it Instagram? Is it a Google ad? Whatever that is. So like genuinely understanding where the journey is starting all the way through the finish line and make the finish line as smooth as possible. Why is Amazon one of the most successful websites in the world? I think we might all agree it's not that beautiful looking, but it's super easy to use. You're one click away from buying whatever you want to buy. It's super dangerous. I know that, like especially after midnight. So just be really careful with that. The sixth thing that I want to touch on is set clear benchmarks and goals. The beauty of what we do is that we can track everything. So there are no excuses for us. I mean, I think the traditional, I don't know if there are any traditional media guys, but I'm sorry, if you're in the TV buy, you can talk impressions, you can talk this. But for us, we're talking clicks and conversions, and there is no way around it. We are accountable for how we're spending our clients' money. So we need to put in benchmarks. We need to have forecasts. We need to look at quarterly. We need to look at historical data. I always say that if you have clean data, that's 50% of the job. That will help you genuinely understand who are your customers, how they're behaving, what time of the year, what time of the, even during the day, what type of device. Literally, spending a lot of time cleaning up your data and understanding data is gonna be 50% of the success of any digital strategies I've ever seen. And then, plan, execute, iterate. So the most important thing is reviewing what you're doing, understanding what's working, what's not working, shifting. Again, we have the ability, think about it, like if you are on TV, once you buy the TV spots for a month, it's a done deal. We can place whatever we want today and we can change it tomorrow. So we need to be really agile and interpret data in real time and make decisions that are gonna be benefiting the clients, because ultimately, how do you define the success of any digital good strategy is the bottom line. Did we make money to our clients or did we not make money to our clients? At least that's how we're being measured. We as marketers can be as excited as we want with the clicks and the impressions and the likes and whatever, but ultimately, and I'm talking from the agency side, I know that 99.9% of our clients measure us based on performance. So with that, that's all I actually have. So I wanted to open it more for questions. If you guys have any questions, please raise your hand. Yes?
Do you think that in today's world, because of digital versus, say, traditional, that the amount of touch points that a consumer has to have with a brand is shortening or expanding in order to make that decision to purchase?
I think...
Traditionally, you always heard it was 7 to 10. But I'm a consumer, and I've been known on Instagram to all of a sudden buy that Botox, and I just saw it in the 30-second spot. Yet I'm not going to go buy that detergent until I've been told 17 times. So I don't know how to figure out the touch point and when is too much or when is not enough.
I think that's a really good question, and the answer is it really depends on the product, and I love that you gave 2 examples, because, and that's where, again, I mentioned data is important. If you have clean data, you would understand, and if you have also a multi-attribution model tracking, you would know that person A came through Google, and then we had to talk to them again 3 times before they converted. Person B, like, so it's all has to do with your tracking and your multi-attribution that I highly recommend every brand to do, because that will easily answer your question. I can tell you from my experience, I've seen it where, for example, we have healthcare clients. When it has to do with health, it's multiple touch points. People take a lot of time to decide what they're gonna inject in their bodies, or if it has to do with like some kind of surgery. So they do a lot of research, they go online, they read the reviews of the doctor, so there's a lot happening there. As far as our e-commerce clients, it's literally a fraction of that. It goes from, I saw it on Pinterest or Instagram, I like it, I bought it. Why? Because you know you can return it. Most of the brands now offer free returns. Versus something that's major. We're talking homes, cars, anything where I think financially or it's physically can harm you in any ways, people are in need of reassurance and multiple touch points before they make a decision. And that's, again, just from our experience in our agency. Any other questions? I saw some more hands earlier. Yes, please. Yes.
What's the biggest cause for dirty data?
Dirty employees? I'm just kidding. I think it's a very good question. I mean, you know, there's a lot of there's a lot of data. I mean, here's the thing. Programmatic, to me, for example, can be good or bad to any brand, because you can drive a lot of unqualified traffic, and that's gonna mess up your whole data. Influencers, we had a brand that had this brilliant idea to work with, you know, like how Kim Kardashian does this contest, but only in her stories, and suddenly, like, you have 500,000 followers, and the next day, you lose everybody, including your own followers. So I was like, please don't do that. Like, it's not your customers. I promise you, they're not watching Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Please don't do that. So they went and did it. Guess what happened? All of our lookalike audiences were gone. How can I target people who I know are not their customers, and we're trying to use their primary data to literally target people who look like their customers? So I think a lot of it has to do with, I'll be honest with you, educating the clients of the importance of their data. I always tell all of our clients, even when I was on the client side, I remember at Microsoft, Hilton, when I was the GM of the startup, I would always tell my teams, data is our gold mine. Like, take care of it as much as we take care of the product. Because the reality is, if you have clean data, you're gonna save so much money in the long run, because you're not gonna be wasting dollars trying to filter and understanding who's really your customer and who is not. So I want to say it's educating the clients or educating the people that, like, hey, we cannot run a Kim Kardashian contest when it is not literally our audience. But it also has to do with, you know, transparency in our industry, because there are a lot of guys out there, unfortunately, and a lot of technologies and softwares that would go and promise the moon, and I'll give you 3 million impressions. I'm like, well, how do I know that this is the kind of traffic that I need on my website? So it's also making, you know, a lot of these guys more accountable, because they're hurting data and also our reputation in the industry overall. I'm sure if you guys are in the agency, I guarantee you've been in a meeting where somebody told you, I hate agencies. Because I've had this guy and he promised me the moon, and I think a lot of it, you know, comes as well from not being transparent and honest. So yeah. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
So that is diverse. Profiles change because preferences will not. So to clean the data. Oh, hello. To clean the testing. There we go. Cool. Thank you. To clean the data, what are your steps to do that? Because data changes and there's many different types of profiles.
Yeah, so first and foremost, like, we had one of the largest eyewear companies in the world, can't say the name, we're under NDA, but they flew 2 of my team members to China and also to their New York offices, where I had 2 of my data scientists, and yes, they're nerds, and yes, they don't talk to anybody but themselves, so like, that's all true. And what we did is actually we start from looking at the foundation. Is your GA implemented properly? Are the pixels firing properly? Like looking even at what they're currently collecting and making sure that it's clean. And one time we're right, it's wrong. So there is a pixel that's missing, there is GA tracking that's wrong. So we always start by looking at the foundation before we get fancy and start implementing attribution models and using third-party software to either integrate with their Salesforce, or we do think where because our goal is always look at the whole journey. I want to understand, how did we talk to you? Why did you buy? That's how we approach data. But my advice to every brand is start literally by the basics. Make sure that whatever you're collecting, if you're using GA and Facebook and all the channels that we usually use to market, everything is firing properly and you're collecting clean data. That's how we start. And what we also do, and you might think it's sometimes, maybe we're kind of data junkies, but we even exclude IP addresses. If we know that the office has 20,000 employees and 20,000 employees are going on the website every day, so do you take really credit for those 20,000, or do you exclude them and then you show actual real data to the clients? So there are a lot of things that you can do in order to clean it, but those are some of the steps that we usually take. Any other questions? We have one. Awesome. Sorry, I think they're bringing you the mic.
So you touched based on building a persona, and we used to leverage Facebook's tool to do that a lot, and that just got deprecated for new industries that we go into, which is extremely important for someone like me who does SEO. So if you don't have data on a certain demographic, or if you don't have data on a certain demographic and that Facebook tool doesn't exist anymore, how do you build out your personas on how to market to them?
Yeah, that's a very, very good question. So the way we usually do as well with our clients, we look at the data, it's very important, no questions asked. But remember, getting the feedback from the people that are designing the product or the people that are working on whatever service they're offering can be also one of the most valuable feedback that you can get. And it can be at least a starting point into understanding who you're trying to target to. You got to be careful, though, because I think somebody said it this morning. Sometimes we want to target to the customer that we dream of and not of our customer. So I think just putting a list of questions of, for instance, again, we work with a lot of e-com private equity firms that keep sending us all random companies, but I love it. We work with e-commerce, and every time you have a physical location, one of the questions I always ask is, how far do people drive to your store? Doesn't matter if you sell suits or you're a doctor, or it also helps you understand that, well, for this location, if you're doing local SEO, I need to focus on this city, this town, this, and that. Instead of trying, for example, in Dallas, there's like a million city between Dallas and Fort Worth, and trying to rank for every one of them, is a headache. So that saves my SEO team a lot of time. So it's also asking a lot of questions to the stakeholders and do a survey to their existing customers. We've done that in the past, where we've asked to get a sample of 5,000 emails or whatever that is, and sent an email with a bunch of questions, and how would you like the brand to talk to you? Do you think we send a lot of emails? Literally as basic as that. And we've had an amazing response, especially when you have brands with people that are loyalists and advocate for it. They're always waiting for an opportunity to share their feedback because they feel like they're part of your brand. And a lot of companies forget to leverage that. If you've gotten to a point where people are lining up to get the newest phone or the newest Jordans, you need to take the time to ask these people how you can improve their experiences. And that's as well something that we do when we don't have access to a lot of data. Hope that answers your question. All right, any other questions? All right, well, thank you so much, everyone. I really appreciate it. And